Hi all, my name is Aaron Chapman and I am hopefully in my last year at OU. I used to be a health science major with a physical therapy concentration, but I changed it to integrated holistic medicine last year. The semester before I changed my concentrations, I took the class Cultural, Ethnic, and Well-Being, and that is what really shifted my focus. This class really opened my eyes to a lot of things that happen in different communities that go unnoticed. Last semester I took the class Social Determinants of Health, and that really got me going in terms of thinking about community work. I found myself wanting to learn more and more each week, not just taking the class for the grade. After just the first meeting of this class, I wished I could go back to my freshman year and have chosen a community-related major and not have wasted so much time on something I had no interest in. Before this class, I thought I had a fairly good understanding on engaging the community. I volunteered in various organizations and even led a few community-related fundraisers, but I truly was uneducated. Through all my experiences, I've only been a volunteer or a placed leader. I didn't have to do any real work in terms of setting up the event, getting volunteers, securing funding, or even drafting an original idea. There was so much I didn't understand and thus so much I learned. In this class we talked about project planning. In one of the first couple of journal prompts, I talked about how that was one of my weaknesses. For me, project planning meant oversight and control, and that was not necessarily what it is. There are many different hands that go into planning a community project, and you can have a role that doesn't necessarily dictate or lead everything. Despite this, I still think it's a good idea to have experience being a leader in the capacity I mentioned before. We were additionally asked how we understood our responsibility and obligations to others when facing a public health crisis. This took me a long time to think about. I generally followed all guidelines when it came to COVID protection policies and stay-at-home orders, and encouraged others to do so as well. What I didn't do is try to convince people who were staunchly against it to follow the orders. Often, we think of doing what's right in our eyes, and maybe in the eyes of the public as a whole, and leave it at that. What I forget sometimes is that my duty also has to be to protect the people that are in the wrong, in terms of trying to either find ways to combat their ideologies, showing compassion and understanding, or even just listening to their side. They are also members of the public and deserve, whether I believe it or not, to be heard. After watching the TED Talk, It's Our City, Let's Fix It, I was left with a wealth of information and ideas on how much power we have, but limit. The speaker, Ms. Orofino, talks about how the government uses technology to fix minor things like broken streetlights, potholes, etc., when they could be using it for so much more. That really got me thinking on how much myself and people in general waste our technological resources when we easily could use it to get things done. We've already taken a big step with using GoFundMe as a way to socialize healthcare, but we can do so much more. Saving buildings that are important to our communities, combating homelessness, combating gentrification, supplementing educational institutions. These are all things that can be achieved with a centralized mass social media implementation like the one Ms. Orofino came up with. Lastly, I would like to talk about feedback. I absorbed a lot from this topic, especially in the group discussion we had as a class. While I do pretty well with receiving feedback, I am not as good at giving feedback. I love praising people for the good they do and how much they've helped, but I struggle with constructive criticism or even just criticism. It helps to know that a lot of people do well with being critiqued and accept it as a necessary part of the development, and that's definitely changed my mindset on my role in giving it. I've had such a great time in this class, and I look forward to furthering my education in community engagement. Thanks.